Everyone wants a platform, but few know how to use it well. Today's guest not only built his own top ranked shows, but now helps leaders craft their voice, grow their brand, and create content that connects. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast or leveling up your digital presence, this conversation is your playbook. Vincent Lancy is the founder of Left for Dead Inc. and the mind behind two top ranked global podcasts. Through his media company, he helps leaders and entrepreneurs craft compelling content, build authority, and grow their brands with purpose. He helps entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers bring their stories to life through powerful audio and visual storytelling. Thank you for being my guest today, Vince.
Good morning, Trudy. It's great to see you. I'm really excited to get this conversation off the ground.
Fantastic. Now, Vince, I was going through your stuff and I found a quote that I found particularly interesting. I'd love you to expand on it for me. You said it takes one connection, one conversation, one moment to change your life. Now, this quote came from your website, and I know it speaks volumes about your life and your mission. Now, when you wrote and shared that statement, what impact did you hope it would have on the reader?
I hope it lets you recognize that just one little move can change everything. You could be going 0 for 100 in sales outreach, right? You can be going and it's just not working. You're trying and you're going, but all of a sudden, one conversation, one person who hears this podcast, maybe one person who checks out your website becomes someone who you add value to and get value from, whether it's a client, a mentor, something can always change. And of course, one sale is the more obvious where, okay, you get one more sale, you're back on track. But the quote stems from me as a little leaguer where it only took one more hit or error by the other team to get back in the game.
Fantastic. So, Vince, you mentioned on your website as well that your life took a significant turn after surviving a serious accident. Without dwelling on the trauma aspect, how did that moment shift your career direction?
Well, it showed me what I wanted to do in life, and it wasn't follow my degrees. I was very unfulfilled in a bank and doing these finance jobs where I had a bigger paycheck than I had, but I was never really happy. So I stepped back and started to figure it out along the way. Finally spoke at graduation in 2015. 4 years of itty bitty committee in my head. I put out the first book and podcast in 2019. And then now that's shifted to where I just help other people do the same, ghostwrite or produce their own shows.
Wow. Okay, cool. So now you're the host of two top global shows. From your vantage point, what's the biggest mistake new podcasters or business owners make when trying to use media to grow their brand?
Well, I think they're trying to do too much. If you're anything like me, where you don't need to worry about putting the show out, getting on one spot and finding that audience like you've done so well, Trudy. In the beginning, I was trying to do a couple reels for every show, do 3 episodes a week, just this unpaid full-time job for no reason when I could have taken it slower, done even one a week. Some people do every other week. And I also made a few mistakes in the beginning. I didn't have brand identity with the color scheme where on all my books or podcasts, there's a shade of yellow. It's my grandma's favorite color. And I also didn't do polls for my names. While I love my names, now you can do things like polls. Check social media first, make sure the handle's available, right? That entrepreneur show was originally what it's really like to be an entrepreneur. Very long, bulky. It tells you what the show is about, but I couldn't do much with it. Missed a lot of opportunities in marketing. Again, something that you're an expert at.
Hmm. So podcasts been around for a while. Many people start podcasts, but very few stand out.
Yeah.
What do you believe makes a podcast truly impactful and discoverable?
Well, you have to be passionate about what you're talking about or an expert in that because if not, the listeners will tune out or you'll be the majority, right? That huge percentage that doesn't make it past 10 episodes. You get this show going and then you realize how much work it is. You don't really care about the topic anymore. So you're just going to stand back. whatever, it didn't work out. Meanwhile, if you're doing something you care about, like your shows, right, you look forward to recording them, you look forward to putting them out, you're going to want to record these shows. But a lot of people will do like the aesthetics. Oh, I'll do the podcast and then it will just fade out because they can't hold themselves accountable.
Yeah, and I agree. When you're not passionate about the topic, you will drop out much quicker if it's not as immediately monetized. And,
Right.
but if you love what you're doing anyways, you're just going to show up because you just love it anyways. And it sometimes that's all it takes is time and a few more episodes, and bam, you're right in the game. So, Vince, you're now connected to multiple businesses and shows. How do you run everything? And this might be a two-part question, but let me just throw it all out there. If
All
you
right.
had to start all over from scratch again, which of these many operations would you be sure to reactivate first and why?
Well, I appreciate the kind words. I can only do everything because I have a great team that I've built out. It took a lot of time. It was really hard to let go in the beginning, right? You think you could do everything better yourself, but you can't. So it starts with the assistant. They're doing a few emails, then she's doing your bank accounts, your invoices, and all of that. Time-consuming tasks that are taking you away, right? You were a guest on my podcast. There's a system we have in place that she runs and, payment information sheet, scheduling, what have you. So without the systems in place, I'm just going to keep falling back. Now I'm finally starting to get glimpses of what I've been striving to do, build the company. I can run from anywhere, wherever I am, and I can trust my team will get the work done. And I'm very, very grateful for them because they do. And the second question, if I had to do something different in the beginning, it would have been letting go a lot longer ago because I don't need to have control over everything. People are going to make mistakes. Of course, you don't want to see someone make a mistake on work that you know how to do, but you got to be lenient with it. People make mistakes and then just be honest, like we talked about with redoing this podcast. If something goes wrong for a client, just try to fix it, right? Let's just work through it and we'll make sure we get it done. So being more flexible with my delegating would have been helpful many years ago. I probably would have been much further now.
Mm. So, Vince, you and I are in a very similar space. We're in the media industry and we're also friends. And I don't see you as a competition. I don't think you see me as a competition. What would
No.
you say to those who think the media space is crowded?
Well, if you're doing something with no competition, there's a reason for it. Probably no one wants it. So you have to just go against other companies. There's other podcast production companies who are direct competition. But my UVP, unique value prop, is much different. I'm a podcaster, was in the trenches, learned everything on my own, struggled, failed every way. And then I have a team who's only podcasters. I only hire hosts or video editors who work on podcasts, audio editors who work on podcasts. So we're able to actually give you advice from a podcasting standpoint, not a social media company who offers podcasting services. Because, like me, I'm not a mechanic. If something goes wrong with a car and someone asks me, I'm not going to give them an answer. I'll say, call a mechanic, right? So I try to just hone in on what we're good at. And while we offer social media services, I make it clear in all my negotiations and sales talks that we're not a social media first company. Because if you look at my page, I don't post every day. The team handles my other accounts, but with my page, my brand isn't a rushing to social media brand. I had one or two downloads on my shows for months and months, but I just was consistent with it. So you have to just be consistent, or if you don't want to be, podcasting is probably not for you.
Okay, so as we wrap this up, Vince, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Trudy, thank you so much. If it's all right with you, can I close off with a few tips for your audience?
Sure, absolutely.
So, if you want to become a better podcast guest, an improved guest, or improved speaker, three things you can do is be mindful that instead of saying filler words like for sure, like, just take a pause. No one knows what you're thinking. No one knows what's going inside your brain. So, just take an extra second and go from there. The second is obvious. You need to have a water nearby or some kind of drink because you'll go dry as you're talking. You won't sound good. And then you're not going to want to share your show, which is the whole point of doing it, right? Getting that extra visibility. And the third one is just reaching out to hosts where I have majority podcast agents every week, 20, 30 requests for all the shows. But when you get one from the actual person, I find it actually means more because it's you showing me how much you want to be on the show. While nothing's wrong with agents, it just goes further.
Well, there you have it, folks. My guest today, Vince Lancy. He's my friend. He's in the media industry. He helps experts and others to start their own show and get their content really zeroed in to match your brand. And if that's what you're looking for, connect with my guest and you can find him at comingalivepodcastproduction.com. I will put that in the credits for you so you don't make a mistake, especially remember it's production, not productions, but it will be in the credit for you. And Vince, thank you so much for being my guest today.
All right, guys. Thank you.